Good evening, everybody. Thanks for joining me at the table. Tonight, I have a special guest with me, Pastor Ian Thornton from the Belair First United Methodist Church, and I'm very glad to have him. This is your third time here with me.
It's hard to believe.
I know, and the first time was May 22nd. I looked it up today.
Did you really?
Yeah, so May 22nd. I can't remember what the second time was, but
Really?
it's good to have you back again.
It's great. I just can't. Man, time is flying.
This is our 13th episode
That's
already,
awesome,
too.
man. That's
And
great.
I always say it's ours because it's for all of you. You know, I
Yeah.
don't do this for me. I do this for all the people that are watching. God gave me the desire and the ability to do
Absolutely.
this, and gave you the ability to be here tonight to be
Yeah.
with me. And it's a wonderful time. So,
It really is. It really is. I love watching this play out.
oh, do you? Okay.
I do. It is so much fun to just watch what God is doing.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, it really is.
and it just seems to get better every week too.
Yep, absolutely.
And I'm not saying that to boast, but I'm just saying that God is just fine tuning every little thing, just like He does in our lives.
Yeah.
He fine tunes all the little things and just makes us better as we go along.
Absolutely. Well, he's the master craftsman.
Yes, he is.
So let him do what he does best.
And one thing that He does do is rest. God created the world in 6 days, and on the seventh day He rested.
Yeah.
And rest is so important, especially for a pastor. Am I wrong?
That'll preach.
Yes.
That'll preach.
You obviously know this now that you're.
Yeah.
It'll be a year in September, right?
Yeah.
In a couple of days.
It
It'll
will.
be 1 year that you will have been here at this church, and it'll be 1 year since I left.
I know.
And that is just amazing. But God has been good through that whole year.
Man, he has.
And I got to tell you, though, I know I'm observing you from afar at times. Okay?
Okay.
Just looking for ways that I might help you.
Oh, yeah.
And I've helped with the paperwork and
Yep.
answered questions that you've had as you get your feet wet and you learn the routine and everything. But I was thinking earlier in the week when I saw you, I said, man, he needs some rest. You just seemed
Yeah.
like you needed some rest. And,
Yeah.
and it's so important. And it's something that we often overlook, especially as pastors, because we never want to say no.
Yeah.
We just want to help everybody all the time.
Yeah.
And God really wants us to just take that time to rest.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about just sleeping at night.
Yeah.
That's part of the routine, and that's part of the way God designed us.
Yeah.
And we can get into that too, but I'm talking about really taking some time to just not do anything and just spend time with God and just rest. The Sabbath is so important.
Yeah.
That's why it's the fourth commandment.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But Phil, you're talking about creation, and I mean right out of the gates.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one of the big things that we miss, and especially in the world of ministry. But even in life as a whole, there's a whole lot of things that we have to do. We wake up in the morning, we have our to-do list that we made the night before that we know we need to get done, and we just have to get this done, and we're doing this and doing that. And that's not at all what we're taught, even in creation, which is at the very outset of everything.
Yeah.
So, I oftentimes I look at creation, and even this last week or so, I've been reminded by the Lord that rest is vital. But I look at the creation account, and we know that God created everything in the first 6 days and waited until the sixth day for His masterpiece.
Yeah.
So, if you want to call you and I masterpieces,
Yeah.
I'll take that. But really, it was the seventh day that we know, everybody knows, God rested on the seventh day, and so often we get this idea of our rest, and what the world talks about as rest is that, okay, well, football season's about to start. I'm going to kick my feet up in the recliner on Sunday afternoon because it's the day of rest, and the kids need to go outside and play because I ain't got time for that. I just need to watch my game and just rest.
Right.
Rest. And that's not at all what's talked about
No.
in the Bible. Not at all. So, God didn't kick up on His recliner on the seventh day and
Right.
tell the kids to go outside. Adam and Eve ain't got time for you. What He actually did was He took the seventh day and He taught His masterpiece that He made on the sixth day how to rest and how to be with Him. And that's exactly
Yes.
what you just said.
Yeah.
Was how to be with Him.
Yeah.
And that's the rest part is learning to be with Him, letting everything else go. If I can say, surrendering those things and just spend time with the Lord and be rejuvenated with him that way, because we need to learn how to rest with him before we should go do for him. I firmly believe
Absolutely.
that. I firmly believe that. And it makes all the difference
Absolutely.
in the world.
And that's what Adam and Eve did. He created them, then he rested to show them how to be with him.
Yes.
Then they went and named all the animals and everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It really did. They really took that whole day. And there again, I love this because you can tie it into the Psalms where a day is like 1,000 years.
I was going to
right?
bring that up. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So a day is like 1,000 years. So it's like, Adam and Eve had this extended, amazing amount of time with God just to learn to be with him, to learn who he is, and to rest with him before they did. And they were told to tend the garden and name the animals and those type of things too. But that was their key, and that was their safe place, and that was their protection, which actually takes rest and catapults that into the most powerful weapon that you can actually have. Because we're fighting against an enemy that is full of worry, anxiety, chaos, and fear. And it gets us all worked up. And we're like, what am I going to do? How am I going to handle this? And it's this fear that drives us, this anxiety that overpowers us. And if you just pull into his rest, it truly is like a veil that God wraps around you. And the enemy doesn't know where you are or what you're doing, and he can't penetrate that because it's God's rest.
Right.
And that's not who he is.
That's very good. And I'm glad you said that, because I know a lot of people probably are thinking, like you said, kicking up in a recliner or taking a nap.
Right.
Or just sitting back and deep breathing, not doing anything. That comes as a result of being with God, because you're not working, for one thing.
Right.
You're not focused on anything else. You're focused on God. While you're really working on that spiritual aspect in the relationship with God, your body is relaxing and resting.
That's true.
So it's secondary to actually spending time with God.
Right.
So rest is all about spending time with God and getting to know him more and building that relationship with him.
It really is.
We look at things that happen in the Bible, and God said, don't gather firewood on the Sabbath. And when they gathered the manna, they gathered twice as much on the day before the Sabbath, so that they didn't have to gather it. Because every little thing that we do, whether it be driving to work or just making breakfast or something like that, every little thing we do is really taking us away from God in that moment. Now, I'm not saying that God's going to strike you down for not spending every 24 hours with him, every minute of every day, because he gives us those days through the week. But on that seventh day, he really wants us to be focused on him.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Absolutely. I really would. I think that the difficulty comes, though, in our busy society and in our craziness of life. And even if we want to chalk our busyness up to ministry or helping other people or doing the things we know that would please God's heart, what would please him the most is spending time with his son or his daughter.
Yeah.
Is just spending time with them. But that's a bridge that we have to cross. We have to stop what the normal is and move into what is something that is different for us.
Yeah.
And believe that there is true value in that time with him. And not just that we're, okay, well, I did this and I've gotten this done for you and I've done this. It really is that one-on-one time.
And last week I spoke about hearing from God.
Yeah.
And
awesome episode, by the way.
Well, thank you very much. Praise God for that.
Absolutely.
But that would be a great time to do that.
Yes.
Don't you think?
Oh, man, yeah.
Just to kind of say, God, I'm going to be focused on you. And again, this isn't something that's going to happen overnight. Just like I said last week, it's not going to happen overnight. But the more you work at it, the more you say, okay, for years, maybe I have not really taken the Sabbath seriously.
Right.
Go to church and, come back and kick back and watch a football game. Go Browns. But,
Knew that was coming.
Yeah. But really, it's so important. And I don't know, tell me what you think. I often tell people, don't try to force feed it all at once if you haven't done it forever. You don't go to a gym and immediately start lifting 50-pound dumbbells if you can only lift 10. right? You got to
Right.
do them slowly. You do the 10s, then say next couple weeks, maybe you move up to the 15s.
Yeah.
Eventually you might get to the 50s and you may never. But with God, don't try to force feed it and say, I haven't done this for so long. I just need to spend the entire day with God.
Right.
If you do, okay. But if you try it and you might fail and then you might get discouraged and then you might just give up.
Yeah.
So what do you think about just taking short little bits and working at it?
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
really do. It's one of the reasons that, in the Bible, it talks about growth. Okay.
Yeah.
It talks about maturing. It talks about, that it really lists out this relationship as a process, that it's a time of growing. It's a time of maturing. Even Paul talks about that, you can drink milk and then you move to
Move to meat.
meat, right?
Right.
So it's, we're infants, we're babes in
Right,
Christ. We're,
right.
so it's all of that. So all of those things really speak to what you're talking about. And it's just taking that time with God. Are you willing to surrender, sacrifice,
Yeah.
that time to just sit with him, just to sit with him?
Surrender and sacrifice. Those are two good words because that really is what we're doing, because for so long we maybe didn't even think about giving any time to God.
Right.
Except for maybe a prayer in the morning or before we go to bed.
Right.
But God really desires so much more. And again, it's not like he's going to be angry with us. We don't feel like we should have to run away because, we haven't done it for so long. God is constantly wanting us back.
Yeah.
And when we turn back to him and we take 5 minutes or 10 minutes and maybe the next time 15 minutes or 20 minutes, and before you know it, maybe you're doing it for hours.
Right.
And, maybe then you're spending an entire day with him. And if we look back in the Bible, the people who rested on the Sabbath, and not all of them did.
Right.
There was the one guy who carried firewood on the Sabbath, and we don't want to do that. No. But anyway, God still loved them, even though they weren't giving him the complete rest that he really wanted them to give.
Right.
And he still loved them through it, and he'll love all of us through it as well.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. He so desires that relationship with us that he's just willing to be there. I think that's one of the biggest things that I've
Yeah.
realized in my own personal life is that, there are those times that I get busy and there's the laundry list of the to-dos to
yeah.
get done. But when I stop and listen or speak or just, God, I've got this going on, or can I talk to you for a second?
Yeah.
Always, not
Yeah.
once have I run into the back of his head. Put it that
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
He's always there to speak, to look, to listen, to be available, and that's really in turn what he's looking for from us is that, Ian, are you available to me
Yeah.
to build this relationship and to go deeper, and to grow, to mature? There's some things I want to share with you that are a little bit deep. This is going to be the T-bone steak versus the milkshake that you've been drinking.
Right.
Are you ready for this? And,
Yeah.
And he's always been there. Always.
And I'm glad you used the word laundry list, because so often with God we feel like it's a checklist. I got to do this. I
Yeah.
got to do this. And God's not like that.
Right.
I mean, we got to remember that Jesus was a human being just like us.
Yeah, that's right.
And he lived like us. He breathed like us.
Mm-hmm.
He worshiped God like us.
Yeah.
And when we think about that, we kind of, if you can, humanize God in a sense.
Right. Right.
We realize that God isn't demanding that you follow this list, and every time you mess up, then you're taking a week off. It's not like that.
Right.
He's there, like you said, not
Yeah.
running into the back of his head. I like that, but he's there, and he is waiting for us to come back to him and say. Or here's another thing: you don't have to always just do it on Sunday. You can do it any day.
There
you
you
don't say,
go.
this is Monday. This is my day to do whatever I want. And no, if it's Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday, Friday or Saturday or Sunday even, God's there
Right.
no matter what day it is. And you can take that time to rest and ask him and spend time with him. It doesn't have to be, again, not a list that you check off. Okay, it's Sunday, so now is my time with God.
Right.
It can be any time. And if we listen for that voice or that nudging, like I talked about last week,
Right.
As over time, it's developing a friendship with
Yeah.
the Lord,
Right.
just like you would with any friend.
Exactly. Which at times and will kind of ease up that mentality that we have of speaking to God, because I need to speak to God
Yes.
like this.
Yes.
But it's just a conversation. That's one of the neat things, even just in my own mind's eye. I picture God walking and being with Adam and Eve and just going, "Hey, Adam,
Yeah.
what do you think about all this? Man, look at this, what I made." And Adam's just like, "Man, this is awesome." But it's
yeah.
just that personal communication. And I understand, God is holy and he is righteous and all of those things. And we need to be very respectful of that. At the same time, he knows what we're thinking. He knows the voice tone that we would use.
Oh, yeah. He
Right?
does, yes.
He knows all of those things. And so there's a point of communicating with him and spending that time with him that is just about being real with him. That we let our guards down and just be real with him. And when we're able to express what we're thinking, how we're feeling, those type of things, do you know what is oftentimes on the heels of that is rest?
Yeah.
Because we've been able to express what we're thinking, how we're feeling.
Yeah.
And there comes that moment where you have just poured it out and he is still there to listen. And then you begin to really understand that one-on-one, that rest, that protection, that guard that comes around you during that time. And the more you familiarize yourself with that feeling, the more you want it.
Yeah.
And the more you crave it and you want to be there, you want to be in that protected place, that safe place where the enemy can't hit you and throw the darts at you, that you're guarded and you feel safe. And it becomes a true desire, to be with him on so many different levels and in so many different ways.
And we do that a lot of times with friends too.
Absolutely.
We really enjoy being around our closest friends because they make us feel safe.
Right.
They give us that comfort. They make us feel like here's a place where I can rest for a short time.
Right.
And we can have that with God.
Absolutely.
But so often we treat God like a boss. I don't really want to tell him what was really on my mind, or someone that we are afraid is going to abuse us or harm us in some way. God's not like that.
Right.
He's the loving Father who is saying, "Come to me, all
And
you who are weary and weak, and I will give you rest."
Absolutely. And a lot of it comes down to we just have to trust him.
Yeah.
We have to trust that.
Yeah.
We have to trust that. Even in the midst of I'm sure every one of us, we've been in relationships or situations to where we have either felt betrayed or abandoned, or we put ourselves out there and man, really got took to the cleaners and man, just really did a lot of damage, and I'm just not willing to put myself out there and trust. But you have to.
Yeah.
You have to. And I can tell you won't regret it.
Yeah, absolutely
You
not.
won't regret it.
Just want to check our time. We got 10 more minutes to talk. So
Great.
one thing that it keeps coming to mind is about rest is, is it restful to be talking to God? Because I'm going back to the whole rest is relaxation, what we think of it in society.
Okay.
So should we, I'm going to back off of that because I was going to say, should we read the Bible? Should we pray? Because that goes back to that list again. What we need is to ask God, how do you want to do this today? How do you want me to rest?
Absolutely.
What do you think of that?
Yes. Oh my word. That to me that just triggers the questions, and I do. I'm a questions guy. So I in being questions, what I mean in enjoying questions and asking questions, at points I'm real strategic.
Sure.
Think you've gotten to know that over the
Yep.
last year and a half or so. So the reporter questions are important to me.
Okay.
Who, where, when, why, and how.
Okay.
So I just take those to the Lord, and I'm like, so I understand how I think, and I'll just use rest as an example. I understand how I think I should rest.
Okay.
But truth be told, you made me, God.
Yeah.
You know me.
Yeah.
You know what's best for me. So how do you want to do this?
Yes.
So how do you want to do this? Where do you want to do it? When do you want to do it?
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What do you want me to do?
Yeah.
And then just allow my heart to be open for however God directs that. You see, there are things that are restful for me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Going hiking. I love it.
Okay.
Okay? God knows what is restful for my body and what I enjoy too.
Yes.
So he takes these things that I innately enjoy,
Mm-hmm.
and I find myself enjoying those things, and he's there. So
Right.
that's how he wants me to rest. He wants me to go hiking with him today. Do you see
There
what I'm
you go.
saying?
Yes, exactly.
So it's just really opening up my heart to his answers to my questions, and letting him be the good dad that he wants to be, to teach, train, show, and to walk with me.
So, without creating a list, we need to surrender,
Right.
and we need to ask God, how do we do this?
Right.
What do we do? The questions: the who, what, when, where.
Yeah. Yeah.
And because it is different for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
I do like hiking, by the way,
Awesome.
but I know that when it comes time to rest with God, for me, it's different than that. It's just finding a place by myself, quiet, whether I'm be sitting in a chair, sitting on my bed, and it could be sitting in my office at work.
Yeah.
Shut the door, just take a few moments and let God speak. And it could be anywhere,
Yeah.
because that works for me, and God knows that. And it can change too.
Yeah. Yeah.
God may say to you someday, I know you enjoy hiking, but I want you to do some swimming, and we'll talk then.
Oh, yeah.
See,
I don't know if that'll be God.
I do that.
No.
I did that on purpose.
No. But one of the other things for me personally is journaling.
Okay.
So I journal.
Yeah.
And so at first, I'm just scribbling in a book because I didn't know what else to write, just kind of thing. And it just became, okay, well, I'm just going to write what I'm hearing.
Okay.
And so, but it was a process. Go back to what we were talking about before. It was a process for me to hear the Lord's voice and being able to journal and to write those things. And at first I started just writing what I understood were my own thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
But then I started asking the Lord questions, and those things that brought anxiety and worry and frustration to my heart,
Mm-hmm.
I just started asking the Lord about them. God, what do you think about X, Y, Z, whatever it is? What am I supposed to do about this? God, this situation that I'm dealing with at work and this person. How do I handle that? And so I just started writing, just writing these things down. So I would write my questions and such. And then it's like, okay, get a couple different color pens. So then I'm writing in different pen colors, and, what I write and what I think, and my questions are in blue, and what he says is in red. Go figure. But it just, it's one of those things to where it's just him bringing me into rest where he wants me to rest came through writing in a book.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, so it's like it really is. It can be well outside of what your passions are, what you think you may be skilled in or what you might not be skilled in. Are you going to trust what he's saying and step out in faith and follow that lead? Because where he's leading you into an area and a land of rest.
Wow, that's really good.
It really is. It's amazing. It's life changing. I can tell you. If there's one thing that I could tell you of things that have changed my life in walking with, not just walking with the Lord in my relationship with Him, but that ripple effect when He does something within that just permeates who you are, and it penetrates and it ripples out to everything and everyone else around you, is that he is teaching me, hasn't taught, but is teaching me, this is a process, but he is teaching me how to rest with him. And it is something that has built me, it is growing me, but it has also defended me, it has protected me, and it has saved me from so many things.
Wow. You had given me a card a few months ago, maybe a year ago. It said, embrace your process.
Yeah.
God knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
Or embrace the process. God knows what he's doing. And I want to say that to everybody because that is really important. Because at times when we start to change with God and we start to understand him more and grow closer to him, it can be scary.
Yeah.
You know, things are going to change in your life and things are going to get better, but you don't want to look like a fool, you know.
That's right.
And pride comes into that a little bit. You don't want to say, well, I think God said this because what if you're wrong? You know, you want to be afraid. But that's where faith comes in.
Yes.
You know, you just got to be like Peter and step out of that boat and walk on the water. And remember when Peter saw the wind and started to sink, the Lord was right there to lift him up. So step out and embrace that process and let God continue to work in you. If it's scary, tell him. Or like you said, write it down, journal it. You know, he knows that you're having some anxiety about the changes going on in your life.
Right.
And he will help you through them. It's all part of the rest, too.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
Yeah.
But then the other thing, you know, the embrace the process, man, that's huge and has been for me, too. And there's two people, basically, I can see two people in the world. Those who have embraced their process, and there are those who are denying their process.
Yeah.
And too often, we're surrounded by people who are denying their process and don't want to be involved in that. But there are other people that are embracing that, and they don't openly talk about it often. They're just working through the process. And I don't mean slaving through, but I mean they're working through the process. They're allowing the transition to happen. They're allowing the changes and all to happen. And quite honestly, you know, that's where we can get a lot of encouragement. You know, I'd look at our friendship and can go, you know, man, there's times in our lives when we're going through changes and we're going through transitions and processes and all, but to be open about them and to speak about them and to share what God is doing and what we're learning in those processes is tremendously encouraging to keep going. Yeah. And you do find rest in that.
Yeah.
You do find rest in that.
Yeah, you do.
It's the Lord's rest, and he's the one that's carrying us through these things.
Wow. Well, that was really great. I think we're just about out of time.
All right.
Time flies when we're doing this. It was great. Thank you all for joining us tonight. One thing I forgot to mention at the beginning is I said that we were going to be switching to Thursdays, which we will be doing, but the day may be sooner, or I'm sorry, maybe later than what I had originally thought. So I'll just keep you posted on the Facebook page to let you know when we're going to be moving. Ian, thanks you very much for
thank you, Phil.
joining me tonight. This was wonderful. I hope you all got a lot out of it. Please leave your comments, and we'll be sure to get back to you. And thanks again for joining us at the table, and we'll see you again next week.
Good night.